So I bought myself a 2001 V6 Mustang, something I'm just cleaning up to be a daily, and the engine bay is a mess, the whole car is. So we're going to start by taking out the battery, because the first thing I want to do is make sure there's no electricity running through the system. And also I like to be able to get underneath and get to the trays. As you can see, there's a lot of dirt and grime underneath, and I want to make sure that we can get it completely cleaned out. First thing I'm doing is using just a leaf blower to blow off any dirt and grime like what we saw from the battery tray. I just want to get any loose products out we can, save myself a little work. And secondly, what we're coming through is we're going to use a degreaser to kind of clean it all up, to get everything broken up, all that dirt gone. Just liberally apply everything, go ham, and don't be afraid to use as much as you want. So this is where things will get a little controversial. I don't tape off or cover up any areas when I'm pressure washing. I've done this quite a few times with a bunch of different engines and never had any problems. You'll see a lot of detailing shops will actually not cover anything up and just brush it. One thing notice is as I'm pressure washing, I'm not going directly into the alternator. So you just saw I'm working around it, trying not to spray directly into any components that could have issues. I'm mostly using this around where you can see the oil covers, trying to blast off any oil residue that may have built up over time. Getting off, and just to get into any of those hard to reach areas. So for the drying process, I do use a towel to come by, as you see, and to get a lot of it. But one of the biggest reasons or biggest things that I use to help dry off is I make sure to do this on a sunny day and a time where I can just leave the hood open for a while. Because something you're not going to see or not going to notice as I'm cleaning this is there's about a 3 or 4 hour gap between drying this and coming back. But then after that, I come back with a toothbrush and some degreaser to get off any areas that I may have missed. Like this air intake always manages to catch extra dirt and not want to let it go. So I'll come back after the drying process and come back and get all those areas that I missed. So after drying, I do come back again with a washcloth and actual car wash to get those the paint areas. Because just pressure washing usually doesn't get all the dirt off. It leaves a bunch of dust stuck behind. So I like to come back with an actual car wash and just clean it all up a little bit more. So this whole next section was a big failed attempt of me trying to clean up the casting, the manifold, alternator, kind of those metal cast parts. So what I tried to do was use a metal wire brush with a drill, a Dremel. I tried sandpaper, but I just couldn't get it to come out the way I wanted. Kept leaving little lines of marks, kind of like when you're trying to color with a colored pencil, or not a colored pencil, like a pencil, and it keeps leaving those overlap lines. So I kept having those issues and ended up kind of giving up, so it's not quite complete. Not the way I wanted it to turn out, but this is kind of still learning experience for me as each time I try something new when cleaning up an engine bay. So if you guys have any suggestions to help clean it up, get rid of that brown overcast, please let me know down below. So this is easily my favorite part of the whole cleaning process. What I use is tire shine to go over all the plastic products. I'm using Meguiar's tire hot shine in a spray bottle. You could use any plastic dress up, more specific products. This has always worked well for me and lasts well and covers up any of those watermarks as you go over it. You can go over it multiple times for a little better results if you want, but as you can see, the shine's coming back and it does last a good long while, which is what I like. A little tip though, as you're applying it, don't go overboard and spray super heavily. Just do a little line onto it. Use the same rag. As the rag gets used more and more product will soak in, and you'll be able to get some of those harder to reach areas or smaller bits. I just use the product that's already on the rag instead of spraying right onto it. All right, the final step that I like to do before putting the battery back in is I like to get a Dremel and a wire brush just to clean up the terminals. It's a small little detail, but I find it a way to make the product just give that final finishing touch, and it also helps that if you had any corrosion on those battery leads at all, that they're all cleaned up and you're gonna make sure to have a solid connection as you put it back in. I did notice that I didn't do the tray. The reason I didn't clean up the tray was, as you can see, there's a rusted bolt in that little bottom leftish hand side. And I didn't want to try to get it off and then snap it, so I just left it as it was. It's going to be covered up by the battery anyway, so it's not a huge deal, but just make sure everything's getting all cleaned up and ready to go as the battery gets put back in, and we're pretty much done with this. Nothing super fancy, but enough to get the results that I wanted and make it look a lot better.